Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something quite unsettling, I think, but also incredibly insightful. We've got these excerpts from a piece called The Scam Artist Returns. And our mission, really, is to unpack the anatomy of a con. You know, what happens when you actually confront a scammer who's already taken your money? And maybe most surprisingly, how resilient these schemes really are.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because it's not just the deception itself. It's the psychological chess match that plays out when the victim decides, maybe unexpectedly, okay, I'm pushing back now.
Hmm.
We'll look at how these operators build their initial pitch, their whole story, and then how it can just fall apart under direct pressure.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this first part. So, our source describes the situation. The narrator got caught in one of those safe, high yield investment scams. You know the type. Quick returns, guaranteed profits, insider knowledge, all the buzzwords. They trusted this person, Ghazala, and, well, they lost their money. It's a story we hear way too often.
It really is. And it highlights that classic tactic, doesn't it? Creating this illusion of exclusivity, making you feel special, like you're getting in on something others aren't. It exploits basic human trust. And that initial loss, it's painful, but it actually sets the stage for what happens next, this really audacious second act.
Okay, yeah, because this is where it gets, well, kind of unbelievable. Months later, the same scammer, Ghazala, calls the narrator again, just smooth, confident, like nothing ever happened. And the pitch is super vague, something about account matters or, urgent updates. I mean, the nerve. Why even go back?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why return to someone you've already burned? It can just be, frankly, sheer audacity. Some operators are like that, or maybe it's calculated. A test to see if the victim is still, I don't know, vulnerable, still hoping to get their money back, maybe. And that vagueness in the pitch, that's deliberate, classic maneuver. Avoid specifics, keep control, don't give them anything solid to question right.
Right. But this time, things were different. The narrator wasn't playing along. Their voice was apparently colder. They didn't just listen. They started pressing Ghazala, really grilling her, dragging her back to earlier statements, the source says, pointing out contradictions she couldn't explain.
And that's the key moment. The power shifts.
Yeah.
The narrator's persistence, just sticking to the facts, questioning the inconsistencies, it starts to work. The source says Ghazala's mask began to crack. She barely stuttered, backtracked, and at one point it sounds like she almost admitted she had lied. And refusing to give her company name, that became her last line of defense.
Wow.
It just shows how fragile that whole constructed reality is when someone challenges it directly and, crucially, doesn't back down.
So what's the takeaway here for you listening? The narrator hangs up, heart pounding probably, but they know. They know they caught her lying and they heard her voice tremble. So victory, right. They weren't fooled again. That's huge. But then there's this chilling realization. Ghazala is still running the same game. She's just going to call the next person, still targeting new victims.
Yeah, and that connects it to the bigger picture. This one confrontation is powerful, yes, but it also underlines just how pervasive these scams are. They keep going. They're resilient because, well, often they're hard to prosecute. They might be overseas. And there's always, unfortunately, a steady stream of potential new targets. The confrontation that shows the human weakness behind the scripts, but the system itself just moves on.
It really does. This deep dive, for me, it just hammers home how important awareness is and skepticism, even when someone sounds so confident, so smooth on the phone. So what really stands out to you from hearing about this kind of direct face-off? And maybe how can knowing about this dynamic, this fragility beneath the surface help you protect yourself or maybe warn others? Something to think about.